Hello, English learners. Today, I want to talk to you about two words, expletives and superlatives. I think I'll start with the superlatives, and I have a little funny story about the expletives, so hold on and be patient, wait for that one. Superlatives are when you talk about the best of something. Quite often, we end with EST on a word. But sometimes we just say the worst or the best. But usually, when you're talking about superlatives, you talk about at least three. Sometimes I hear even native English speakers use this incorrectly. They'll say, "This is my youngest son and my oldest son," and they only have two children. So in that case, you should say older or younger, not youngest or oldest. So when they say that to me, I think, where's the other child? Where's the third one? So as you're learning to use superlatives, remember that those are words that we reserve to describe something that is the very best or the very worst of something. And that's how we talk about superlatives. And you can probably think of a lot of examples. And sometimes we say good, better, best instead of putting an ending on it. So we would say the most beautiful, the least popular. And then other times we would just add the EST ending. Let me think of one. I can only think of worst right now, but it'll come to me. And then I'll add some of those words. Maybe when I'm talking about expletives, it'll come to me. So I'm going to get to that and maybe we'll come back to these other words. But expletives are salty talk. My dad was in the Navy, so was my father-in-law. And men who started early in the Navy sometimes use very colorful language. I might have to omit or abbreviate some of those words so I don't get kicked off of YouTube. So, my dad had a very extensive vocabulary, but he felt that sometimes a colorful word made his point better. In my opinion, sometimes a colorful word means you can't think of a better one. And I like to hear when people can use the most vocabulary they have and avoid those words. Now, I'm especially making this because I believe there's a misconception about Americans. If you watch American movies a lot, you'll hear a lot of colorful language, especially in the shoot 'em up movies. That's what I call them. And people will talk, or in the boardroom, they'll use all this bad language. Every month, I take the minutes for a Chamber of Commerce. I never hear bad language in those meetings. I might hear somebody say something funny or a little bit off, but I rarely hear the F word. I never hear that in those meetings. And my experience with that goes way back. I worked for an engineering company and they put me in this office right near the field crew and the manager of the field crew. In the morning, he would give his guys their orders, and sometimes he would be upset about something happened the day before, and he was very colorful. And he would use those words, and they would go, "Oh, excuse me, Patty. Excuse me, Patty." At some point, I wanted to say, "God bless you." Finally, I went to him politely when no one was around. I said, "If that's how you talk to your crew, just talk to them and forget I'm in the room." But when people talk to me like that, I don't like it. And I have on occasion said so if it gets out of hand. And I feel like they owe me the respect of talking to me in a more polite way. And I will tell you that from years and years of working, people who are polite and respectful could get the job done faster. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, we often say in English. So I would just encourage you, and my funny story about expletives is this. I was working for this lawyer, and these two ladies came in. They were quite upset. Someone at a restaurant chain had used some very bad language and chased them off the property. Now, I don't know what transpired, but they wanted to sue this company because it had a lot of money, and it is against the law. It's a misdemeanor to use certain kind of words in public. And very few people enforce that, but in civil court, you could win a lawsuit if someone uses a lot of bad language and scares you. So that was their claim that they had been traumatized. And um, my lawyer told them they need to go see a psychiatrist and get a certificate and all this. And then there would be the opportunity for cross-examination. And they call it taking depositions. And so when that opportunity arises, both of the attorneys for both parties or businesses get together and have a sit down discussion. And during this discussion, the other party provoked these women on purpose, and he kept using the same phrase. So you assumed this, and you assumed that, and you acted very arrogantly and very in their face. And I was taking minutes, and I'm like, he's setting them up. And they fell right into his trap. And pretty soon, one of them got so irritated, she just came right back at him. And she said, you know, when you use that word assume, you make an ASS out of you and me. Now, she said the word, I'm just spelling it, but needless to say, the case got thrown out of court because obviously they were very accustomed to using that kind of language themselves, which was shown in that deposition. So that's my funny story about those kinds of words. And so we often use what we call play on words or puns to make a point, which their point lost them their court case and cost them some money for seeing the doctor when they really didn't need to. They thought they were going to get a lot of money. So think about words that you would like to say and make your point that you have the greatest product on the earth. Did you notice I said greatest? EST, and you want to sell your product and you need to sell yourself to do that. So I highly recommend that you use respectful, polite language and smile at your person when you're trying to make that transaction, no matter how they respond. They might say, oh, that's too much money. I don't really think it's as good as you say. You might have to show them. But I recommend that you avoid those colorful, salty words that people want to use when they're frustrated and can't think of a good word. If you need some more good words on how to sell a product and how to sell yourself, just think about this. If you're going to an interview, you want to put your best foot forward. And when you're trying to sell a product or yourself, using those salty words won't cut the mustard. Have a good day. This is Patty. Bye bye.